It's called a dual wage threshold. And essentially, there's a bifurcation of rates. If you don't pay people over a certain amount of dollars, then you have a worse workers' comp rate.
Right.
And if you do pay them over that, you get that preferred rate. Well, everyone, welcome to another episode of the Risky Assets Podcast. This one's going to be more insurance-y again, but we think this is a really good topic. Again, we run into things that impact business owners all the time. This is a real one. If you're in the construction space, you have employees, you're in California, things are going to change. So consistently, and we're just seeing some trends here. And we think being able to plan and tell our clients and our prospects, like, hey, here's what's happening. Like, there's a big picture view here. How can I help you get that information is really beneficial. So explain what's kind of happened or what's going to happen here in September of this year in 2026.
So starting September 1st, we're going to see changes on workers' comp rates for contractors, threshold changes on those wages. We see that every couple of years. And there's a big one coming on September 1st. And so really what we want to do is not only prepare people for that, but to meet with our contractor clients over the summer and help them understand how that's changing, why it's changing, and where it's going.
Yeah, and for people who don't know, and I know contractors do because they have to deal with this, but it's called a dual wage threshold. And essentially there's a bifurcation of rates. If you don't pay people over a certain amount of dollars, then you have a worse workers' comp rate.
Right.
And if you do pay them over that, you get that preferred rate. And the rationale behind it is that typically, just using I'll just use a carpenter since that's an easy one. Their wages right now are at $41 an hour for their threshold. The rationale being for every kind of contractor is that by the time that they're making that money, the employee they're experienced.
Right.
They've avoided falling off of ladders, stabbing themselves in the eye. They've kind of gone through the learning process of safety. What does it take to be on a job site and not, hurt yourself?
Yeah, cheap labor is cheaper for a reason.
Well, yeah, they're learning. You know, I mean, listen, I could probably go out there right now, and I'm not a dumb guy, but I'd probably find a way to get hurt. I just don't understand.
100% I'd hurt myself on a construction site.
And I'm the first to admit, I walk ladders at home. I'm not getting off of it. I walk the ladder.
Sure.
Like stuff like that, though, I know is not safe, okay?
But if you're doing like an apprenticeship and you're just learning, those rates are going to be more expensive for you because you're more prone to injury.
We had a client, again, I know this is insurance-y, but guy went, that's an electrical panel. I have a screwdriver. I should put the screwdriver in the electrical panel to fix it. You think that warrants, higher rates? Of course it does. And that person was learning.
Yeah.
That's something that probably an experienced electrician would not have done. Not at least under the influence of something pretty heavily in their system. Right. So what we've seen over a long period of time is that this now has become slightly political to a certain degree because it is forcing wages up. The California Department of Insurance wants this. It's slightly political. The Bureau wants this. Inflation is a real thing.
Sure.
It costs more money. They're also trying to make sure these blue-collar workers, in a positive way, are able to afford to continue to provide for their families. So it's not all bad. I'm not trying to make that argument.
Yeah.
But
if you have a contractor, so carpentry, to your example, if you have a contractor who's paying their people $37 an hour, and now this new rate comes out and it's $41 an hour, help business owners think through the math there. Why would paying their employees more be more advantageous?
Well, without doing math, just Charlie Deaver or any other person, I'm probably going to look at it and go, do I want to give money to my employees? Or do I want to give money to the insurance companies?
100%.
It's a real easy formula, right? I would rather, if you're going to make me spend money, I want to give it to the human, to the person. I don't want to give it to an insurance company. And listen, I'm an insurance guy. I make more money on premiums being there, but just practically speaking, I get it. It's the devil under your bed.
Yeah.
So I totally understand. Now, if we use some real math here, okay? I've done a lot of this stuff. Claude's helped us too. Let's be real. I can do this fast now. The current rate for carpentry is $41 as the high-low wage threshold. It is going to $46 an hour. Okay, so it's a big jump. And what that does, and I'll just use averages here because everything is different. Someone in NorCal, Central, you will have different rates than even SoCal. So I'm just going to use California averages so people can kind of understand. Right now, a carpenter on average in the high wage code is 5.5% of payroll.
Okay.
That's the net rate.
Right.
Okay. The low wage is 12.5.
Wow.
That's a big difference.
It is.
Okay. So $7 or 7% difference. So play out worst case scenario.
Well, and let's be clear too, that is per hour.
Per hour.
It doesn't include overtime.
Does not include overtime.
Right.
You need to be paying those
Yes,
people.
paying those people.
It has to show up on a payroll registry
Right.
that is their hourly wage and that you've moved them to that.
Well, and it's a huge audit exposure. The payroll records have to be clean. And
Correct.
so contractors really have to understand that as well, that if they can't prove it in an audit, then they're going to get charged the higher rate.
Yeah, so some people are like, why would that happen? Listen, we're not saying everybody lying, cheating, stealing, okay? But there are unique ways to pay people that maybe aren't above board, and they go, hey, I paid them this much, and we just put down an amount of hours.
Right.
That can bite you.
Yes.
And if an auditor can't figure it out, they probably assume you were playing games. They do math as simply as they can. If it doesn't meet the criteria, you're getting charged whatever class code you fall into.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where the record keeping has to be clean. You can't get away with sloppy records.
So check this worst case scenario out, right? Let's say you're oblivious to these, thresholds going up.
Sure.
You renew September 2nd. All right. You are subject to it.
Yeah.
All right. You're paying somebody today, and it's August 5th or something. Yeah, it's August 5th today. So we still got some time to deal with it. You're paying someone today $42 an hour.
Right.
Today, they meet the high wage.
Yeah, they meet it.
Now, worst case scenario. Crap, I didn't give them the increase to $46 an hour.
Right.
But I'm going to give them a raise. I'm going to give them 42 because I'm being a nice employer, right? You show up to audit at the end of the year, and you will find out at that point you paid them more, and instead of 5% of payroll, it's going to go to 12.5% of payroll. Those are our worst case scenarios where we look at employers and go, listen, why would you give an additional 7% to the insurance company? Yes, that person making 42, it means you have to get them to 46, but that is one, cheaper.
Yep.
And you are giving it to the person instead of the insurance company. Yeah. And so that's the kind of stuff that we want to prevent from our own clients. And we've sent out emails and we're trying to notify everybody that's in our network to do this. But we just thought, hey, construction's a tough business. You are bidding stuff out 3, 6, 12 months out in advance. This can get you in August today in December, January, February of next year.
Yeah, because the pricing swings can be enormous.
And you have to account for increased payroll in your bids, and you have to make sure that this all makes sense today for tomorrow. So that's kind of why we're doing the video. We will leave a link just so you guys can see it for all the class codes. We're just using carpentry because it's the easiest one for us to look at. Roofers is always a fun one because those high-low wages are... Those are pretty substantial.
Right.
Falling off roofs, I don't know if you've done it. It doesn't end well.
Just as a kid. Yeah.
Well, what's funny is when in high school, I got stuff off the roof, whatever, and I would just jump down.
Yes.
And land on my feet. And now I think my femurs would hit me in the chin.
Have you jumped off of a roof recently? Because I did last Christmas, and it hurts.
I would assume 3 steps hurts for you.
It's old and it's just a little overweight.
Yeah, so he's a big boy. I bet you Andrew could still jump. But one of those things too. Obviously with roofing, your rates are high. People when they fall, they get hurt real bad. We've seen some other ones that I think are not so bad in the sense of, I think it was electrical contractors. The difference between high-low wage is pretty close.
Yes, it's more nominal.
So you don't have to make as big of a swing to go like, all right, I have to give these people huge raises because the rates aren't as substantial.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some where you're like, okay, this isn't worst case scenario if you miss it. We still don't want you to, but you also don't need to give someone a $5 an hour raise to meet that. So
and part of working with Greyhawk is that like our clients don't know what they don't know.
Correct.
And so the opportunity for us to sit with them to do a short review of what are the current wages? What can we prove in an audit that you're paying people?
Yep.
How does that affect your rates? And then here's the increases and what does that calculation look like? That can be a huge savings for our clients.
It can be. And I always say this, and I'm not trying to be, negative, but we have no idea what other brokers are doing.
Right.
And a lot of them just want a paycheck. They're not really looking out for people. To them, they might be like, oh, shoot, if people get into the low wage, I'm making more money.
I didn't even think about that.
People are...
It's a fair point.
Yeah. And so I just think that's a bad place to be. We want to be honest, ethical. I want to grow with employers.
Yes.
Like if you're bigger, That means you're spending more, and then I'm making money though in a way that's sustainable, that you don't hate your agent and the insurance company.
Yeah.
So I just don't take the stance that like the dollar today is important, but you know that.
Well, and when premiums go up because of growth in the business, that's a great day for everybody.
Big time.
When they go up because of claims or because something was missed, in this case, those are really hard conversations.
Yeah, and it's just not something that we want to do.
Yeah.
One thing to help my employers who are watching this is I just took a snapshot over 10 years, because you can go back and you can track what were the thresholds every year. So just carpentry, again, I'm going to stay on that. 2017, it started at $30 an hour. Okay. 2020, we're at 35. 2022, we're at 39. 2024, it's at 41.
Gee.
And now 2026, it's 46. Okay. When you look at the what we call CAGR, or compound annual growth rate, 4.9, 5% every year is what they're moving the hourly wage to in carpentry.
Wow.
Most codes are between 3.5 and 5. So even though they don't do the thresholds every year, you can see that it's 5%. So if I mapped it out for 2028, you could probably guess that we're going to be somewhere in the low 50s.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know people are like, man, that's a big number. But again, you need to plan. You can only play by the rules of the game, and this is part of the game, unfortunately. So,
well, and to your point, if they're bidding jobs,
you got to know.
You've got to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You got to know. The wild part is when you do look at it over a 10-year span, it's a 53% increase from 2017 to today for carpentry.
That's crazy.
Stucco and plastering, 27 to 42. It's a 56% change. You know, over a 10-year period, all the different political factors, inflation, you know, just all of those things have made a big difference. Yeah. Everybody knows that building, especially in, you know, California, New York, it's wildly expensive. And this is going to continue to push that pressure up, right? And there's nothing you can really do about it. I would say, if you're big enough, you can go self-insured and kind of offset some of this stuff anyway. Sure. But, you know, you have to be playing a different game.
Well, and it's so hard because a client who was like comfortably above the threshold because of those increases can all of a sudden just find themselves the very next year.
I got to move this.
I got to move it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's short term. It could eat into profit until you kind of recapture.
Yep.
Even people who are doing service work where it's ongoing, you're like, man, that's going to be an increase I have to pass off immediately.
Right.
It's not just new construction where it kind of takes some time. But yeah, those are tough ones. Can we, I know we're kind of talking maybe some negatives. Can we talk about some of the positives?
Yeah.
You know, what would you see as a positive for this? Not just for the employers, but employees, like overall. I'll give you a lot of negatives.
Well, high value employees getting paid what they're worth to the job. Construction is one of those rare industries that they can price their jobs comparable to what their costs are. So the advantageous side for workers who have been in the trade for a long time, are doing excellent work, are dependable, they're safe on the job site, and employers know what they've got, it's a good thing for them.
My thought, though, is that the people who are really good are making well past the threshold.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Right? Like, these are the kind of the tweeners where you're like, hey, these are my, I don't want to call them B players, but, you know, it's like the B and C's are kind of making that. All your A players are making well above this. They don't really get impacted. But I do think that puts upward pressure. If you have to give all your B and C players raises to get there, I think that puts the upward pressure to the A players. Now, that could still be seen as a positive, like, hey, you want to keep them, they deserve it, understood. I'm just, you know, one of those things where that's kind of tough to look at. It puts upward pressure.
It could also force employers, I know you just said the positives, but there's so many negatives to talk about.
Yeah.
That, like, could also pressure employers to be like, I got to cut this guy.
That's one of the negatives.
Yeah.
For sure.
I got to cut these guys off of my workforce. They're not dependable. They're accident prone. I can't be paying them this high hourly rate.
They don't warrant that.
Yeah.
Which, again, it's a tough place to be.
Yeah.
Andrew, do you see any other positives? I mean, you're not in insurance, you know, but like, what would you think is a positive of all this? Employees will like a raise. That's for sure. Employee retention, they'll probably feel it. And, you know, you could use it if your current employer is not like, hey, I'm going to give you a raise. Other employers will be like, hey, I'll give you this, knowing that it's going to be advantageous to them. So there is one retention for you, but you could poach some good employees that are in that middle ground or young still.
Yeah.
So there's opportunity there, I think, for employers to look at that as a positive.
Yeah.
I think that was a good one, Andrew. One of the other things that I wanted to do that I thought just my brain works in math. So what I was asking was, what was the break-even point? Like if I was making carpenter, okay, I'm making $41 an hour currently. There's a little bit of a gap there. What is when is it worth it to give them the raise? Because there is also this thing called payroll taxes, right? That does impact it. That's not reflective of this math, but that's more pressure to pay more taxes. Okay. Break-even analysis.
Yeah, what's that look like?
Yeah, I mean, every code is different because of the squishiness. But we ended up carpentry, if they are at $41 an hour and you were like, man, I have to pay them more, but I get this discount, the break-even point is $43.13. Okay. So if you were okay going, I would give them $43.13, then you might as well go to 46 because the cost of the insurance flips at that point. So in your brain, I think sometimes this is really helpful to me. I'm like, dude, $5 an hour? I'm not giving that guy a $5 an hour raise. But would I give him $2? I'd probably give him $2. Yeah, he deserves $2. Well, the math says that then is worth it.
Right.
Okay, so that's carpentry. Steel framing was basically the same, that $43. Roofing had a big one where you were like, okay, there's actually a big gap here because the high-low wage for roofing is very bifurcated. It's very different. But they were going like, hey, $33 is the threshold. If you're at $30, you should do it on the break-even analysis. Okay. So I think, too, if you guys are going, hey, where's the math? We have all of those. Like, here's the break-even. If you would be willing to give them that, then it does make sense. Again, I know emotionally it's not going to feel great, but I don't want you to pay the insurance company for no reason. Right.
Well, and just, again, we can't hammer home enough that open dialogue between you and a broker to discuss where that break-even point is, how it's going to help your business, those decisions around it. That's what a good brokerage does.
Last thing I want to clarify. Sometimes you can, and we'll put the link down at the bottom, the WCIRB sets these rates. They also set the base rates. They look at everybody who has a mod in the entire state for that class code and go, hey, we know based on all the claims data and premium in the high wage and low wage, this is what the base rates, the averages should be. That doesn't mean that's what you pay. Okay? So if you look at it and you're like, well, I pay $4 and not $5, I'm doing great. Well, that doesn't mean that you're cheaper. It might mean you're not in the LA County or there could be so many variables. It's just a starting point. Your mod could also be high or your mod could be low. Like there's many, many, many variables. All of those things still apply to you. We can work out what the thresholds are depending on your rate and the difference of payroll costs and all that if it's different. And it will be. Guaranteed it will be different. So just keep that in mind. We want to be helpful to people. And this is where it's a shameless plug. Like we want to work with you. If you feel like your broker's not being proactive, we would love to look at your payroll registries, work this out with you, make sure that people who are on high wage currently don't all of a sudden get bumped down, and make sure that your program is well taken care of. This sounds simple, and it is, but I've heard every time that these have changed. My broker didn't tell me comes out for the next year.
Well, and the audit is really going to be where the where the problems arise, and it's because if the records are sloppy, or if the contractor has counted things towards that regular rate that they shouldn't have, and the auditor then goes through and reclassifies it for the low wage, they're doing that retroactively for the entire period of the policy. So it can be highly punitive.
Highly punitive. No, it is. When you think about it too, right? Like, how much would it be? I did this math somewhere.
Well, and I think another important part is that the burden of proof lies on the client, not on the carrier.
On a normal person making $46 an hour compared to $41, if you didn't do it and then it flipped on you, it will be on an audit, just if you're using the base rates, somewhere in the neighborhood of $12,000 for that one employee.
Yeah, per employee.
One. Right. So you're like, oh, and by the way, that's doable in 60 to 90 days typically with carriers.
Yeah, because they've already provided the insurance. So they're like, give me my money now.
Today. Yeah. And they have every right contractually to do it because it's in the contract that you signed. Whether you know it or not, you're signing it on the contract.
Yep.
And if you don't, they'll cancel your insurance, throw it in collections. Yep. It's all bad. It's there's nothing good that happens. Yep. So Greyhawk would love to be of service to you. Not only Daniel and I, but we have some guys that do construction really well, and they would be fantastic at helping you guys out. Andrew, he's going to link our PDF that has all the rates and what it's going to. And then he's going to link the WCRB so you guys can see the base rates on there and have everything available. And lastly is the plug. There is a link down below where you can onboard, where you can ask us for help, and we will get someone on the team to come and reach out to you and then just walk through it with you and see what we can do. And then secondarily, if the right coverage and carrier is in place for you, and then we can kind of go through all that stuff. But if you guys enjoyed it, please like and share. Obviously, this is how we provide value to you. So anybody that has ears and that's a contractor, we'd love it for them to see this video. So I hope you enjoyed. And in the comments, tell me the thing you're most upset about for the threshold, because there's not a lot of positives. So what do you think is the biggest downside? So that's a good one.
Thanks, Kate.
Yeah, appreciate it, y'all. Take care.